In this video, we're going to do some more photosynthesis investigations. We're going to investigate whether carbon dioxide and light are necessary for photosynthesis and what happens when we increase carbon dioxide concentration and light intensity. We're going to use an online animation to help us understand this, where we've got some pondweed in a beaker underneath some water, and of course the pondweed's green, contains chlorophyll, and so if it has access to water and carbon dioxide, it will photosynthesize and produce glucose, which we can't see, and bubbles of oxygen, which we will be able to see. So we're going to count the bubbles of oxygen and use that as a way of investigating how quickly photosynthesis is occurring. We will only change one variable at a time. We'll change light intensity and carbon dioxide separately in two separate experiments and use those to see how quickly photosynthesis is occurring. When we do investigations, we have three different types of variables. We have the independent variable, which is the one that we are going to change. We're going to change carbon dioxide concentration, and then we're going to change light intensity. We have the dependent variable, which is the one we measure, or in this case, the one we count. The number of bubbles of oxygen is going to be the dependent variable. And lastly, the control variables, which are any other variables like the temperature, is going to be controlled in this investigation. We don't want the temperature to change. So the variable that we're going to use to indicate how quickly or slowly the reaction is taking place is the number of bubbles of oxygen in this investigation. That's the dependent variable. And the light intensity and carbon dioxide concentration will be the independent variables. Firstly, we're going to deal with the effect of carbon dioxide concentration on the rate of photosynthesis. So this is what you are going to do on that animation. You're going to set the carbon dioxide concentration at low, and then you are going to start the timer and count the number of bubbles produced in a minute at low carbon dioxide concentration. You're going to repeat this 2 more times and fill in your results in the table that I'll show you in a moment. Then you're going to change to high carbon dioxide concentration and count the number of bubbles produced in a minute, and again repeat. There's the table. You've got places to fill in your 3 trials, 1, 2, 3 repeats for low concentration, and then find an average, and 1, 2, 3 repeats for high concentration of carbon dioxide and find an average. That'll be the first experiment. Here is our animation. We have got the temperature, which is one of our controlled variables, set at 25 degrees Celsius. I'm going to leave it at that. We've got our carbon dioxide concentration set at low at the moment, and we're going to leave that at low. We're going to reset our clock, and we're going to switch on the light and see how many bubbles are produced in a minute. So when we're ready, once the bubbles have been produced, start the timer and count the bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to count those bubbles for an entire minute, stop the clock, and write in your first result. And then you can reset your clock and repeat. When you're ready to change the concentration of carbon dioxide to high, just click on the carbon dioxide bottle and you'll see that the amount of carbon dioxide in here will decrease because we'll increase the concentration in here. And you should see the bubbles being produced more quickly. And then you start the clock and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and count the number of bubbles in a minute and fill in your results in the table. So that is for carbon dioxide concentration. The second one that you're going to do is you're going to investigate the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis. And using the light intensity controller, you're going to set it at 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. And each time, as you set it at each of those, you're going to count the number of bubbles produced in a minute and fill in this table that is shown below. So in a moment, I'm going to take you across to the animation where we can show you what to do. For light intensity, we have set the temperature at 25 degrees Celsius again. This is our controlled variable. We're not going to change that. What we're investigating this time is the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis. So we're going to keep the concentration of carbon dioxide high all the way through the experiment, and we're going to change the light intensity. So initially, if our light intensity is at 0, we can see that nothing is being produced. So the first result will be 0 bubbles at 0 light intensity. We can then increase the light intensity to 10, and we can start timing. 1, 2, 3, and count the bubbles for a minute and fill in your results in the table. Okay, you will then reset the clock and change the light intensity to 20 and count the number of bubbles produced. Remember to only change the light intensity because that is the variable that we're measuring this time. We must control the temperature and the carbon dioxide concentration. And by controlling, we mean keep them the same. Don't change them. And eventually, you'll change to 30, then to 40, and eventually to 50, where when you change that to 50, you'll see that the bubbles are being produced really quickly. And again, time a minute and count the number of bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Count them for a minute. See if you can do that and fill in the 2 tables in the slideshow.